Good evening, everyone. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, where you'll find us airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me as usual is Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, how you doing, sir?
Doing well, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing great. All I got to do now is I had a problem with my computer again. We do these updates. How do you like the updates and how they work for you?
In general, I'm not a fan. I have one that actually freezes my clock at the bottom of the page, which is why I'm sometimes late because it doesn't, it just freezes. And I won't know it's frozen until I actually mouse over it. So, there have been occasions
Exactly.
where I've almost missed the show.
Well, thank goodness you haven't. So,
Yep.
and I appreciate the fact that you're here. And for me, it's whenever I do it, it seems that just before I do it or right after I do it, the computer doesn't work. The documents take, there's been a few times, as you know, that I have not come on the air or met you without difficulty getting to the point where we're here. I've done shows without the documents. It's just, and every time after the update, it's like the computer has to be rebooted at least twice for me before the computer gets back to normal after one of those major updates.
Yeah, it seems to be an ongoing issue. And unfortunately, sometimes it seems like Windows manages to break everything even more every time there's an update. And I'm puzzled
Absolutely.
as to how they manage to do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. Okay, listen, the top story today, in my mind, the ones that you sent, is Canada signs a $20 billion compensation agreement on First Nations child welfare.
Now that was one that popped up a little bit later for me, but most definitely, it's a $20 billion settlement agreement to compensate First Nation children and families harmed by chronic underfunding of child welfare. The Assembly of First Nations and plaintiffs in two class action lawsuits agreed to the deal, which also accounts for the government's narrow definition of Jordan's principle. Indigenous Services says the settlement is the largest in Canadian history, and the $20 billion accounts for half of an overall $40 billion deal that aims to reform the child welfare system, including 5-year funding for the First Nations Child and Family Services Program. Now, it's not settled yet. The deal must still be approved by the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal and federal court. But as it stands now, Chief Cindy Woodhouse says in a statement she's proud of this historic milestone for First Nations children and their families.
Excellent. I'm glad they're happy. And, it's the old saying, I hope, it is my hope that this is money that is going to be used to not just prop up today's children or make up for yesterday's children, but to deal with tomorrow's Native children. We know that there are a lot of issues. Look, I'm not an expert on it, but what I do know is, and I do care, and that is that I care about, our Native people who, through I don't think through any fault of their own, have somehow been ushered into a situation that breeds a lot of unfortunate things going on from within, even not just from the outside, as we've heard with the RCMP, and then in places like Manitoba, where there's been issues with disappearing young women, young Native women. It's my hope that what they do here is something that builds a foundation for the kind of self-respect that they deserve. And I think that is the biggest thing we can offer a people who are going through a troubled time, and that is self pride and an ability to fend for themselves on a prolonged schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hope that's what this does, and this is the beginning of that. So let's go to the Canadian Football League, and the Elks storm back to stun the Ticats for their first win of the season.
So in this case, Hamilton is still perfect. So I'm glad to see that they're maintaining their record so far this season. But yeah, with two touchdowns in the
Hoping like
fourth
a true
quarter,
Argo fan.
two touchdowns in the fourth, the Elks managed to come back and take a 29-25 win Friday night at Tim Hortons Field. They were down 22-9 in the third quarter and came all the way back to win it. So glad to see that.
Yeah, good for them, and they did it with a young quarterback, another Canadian. It's always good to see Canadian quarterbacks, and this season is the year of the return of the Canadian quarterback. We've had a lot of false starts with some young Canadian quarterbacks, and unfortunately, they haven't been able to really assert themselves in the position. Now we have one that is off to a great start, and another we just talked about in Edmonton. So let's see what happens. And then, of course, there was the game last night, which we were both at, where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers came out of the gate in a hurry, while the Argos stumbled out of the gate. It looked like it really looked like a comedy of errors out there, Aaron.
Oh, it really did. It was not pretty to say the least. I mean, we were down 17-3 at the half, but at that point, it seemed like the roles reversed. Winnipeg basically shut themselves down, closed out with 6 points in the fourth quarter, nothing in the third, and the Argonauts came on with 19 points. We were one PAT away from going to overtime, but unfortunately, and this is something that we talked about in the pre-show, Frank. There seems to be something about the south end of the stadium that's disconcerting for kickers. We saw it 2 weeks ago when the Alouettes managed to shank it
Same
at
way.
the Argonauts home opener. Yeah, same way, same end of the field.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see where that goes. I'm wondering if there would be a way for us to get down on the field somehow to take a look at that.
Oh,
You've probably got a better end than I do, right? So
I've asked already. I've asked already.
what'd they say?
Well, well, not no, I don't think so.
No.
Um, but I'm curious, and aside from those two incidents this year, there was also last year. There were three victories the Argos got on bad kicks by opponents, and all three of them, I believe, if recollection's fair, and if my old age isn't kicking in too hard, they were all in that end of the field. There's something on that end of the field that causes these kickers, like it's not that they're missing by inches. What we saw yesterday is the same thing. They're missing, it's like there. I don't know if there's maybe a buried dog over there or something, or a witch was buried there or something. I don't know, on that end of the field, because it's just it's crazy how terribly good kickers have been from that position. This isn't the first good kicker that did that.
Part of my thinking is this: the Sun wasn't necessarily. I mean, going into that side of the field, you should be able to see the poles better because they should be backlit by the sun, right? With everything being the same, it should definitely be easier to kick into that end as opposed to kicking into the other end where the giant TV screen is. But for some reason, the South Side curse seems to continue.
I wonder, the other thing is, I wonder if the texture of the grass at that point in that general location is different than it is, in other locations. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like the consistency of the soil and or the grass, because it's like they're missing the ball. They're missing the ball. It just it's crazy. Now, I'm not making excuses for the Argos because they lose the game because of that. They all play on the same field, and it's not like hockey. You don't change ends. Well, you do change ends, but not like hockey. And in football, you're marching up and down the field.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was something to concern ourselves. Here's something. Another topic. Moving over to Hockey Canada, and Mete denies involvement in the alleged sexual assault. The 2018 Canadian junior team. We talked about this in the last show, Aaron. Until we know who actually was involved, they're all involved by virtue of nobody's mentioned. So it's got to be one of those guys. So the whole list of them now are under the microscope, if you will, or the pall of the situation, which is appalling.
Well, Victor Mete's location could actually be relatively easy to ascertain, just simply by going back and checking his social media. He claims that he was actually in Jamaica at that time with friends and family, and only learned of the situation through
Yeah.
media reports. It's easy enough to go back to his Instagram and see any pictures that he put up from June 2018 and figure out exactly where he was. I don't doubt that. Um, but I mean, the issue here is this now goes deeper than that. Recipe Unlimited, which is the parent company of Swiss Chalet and the Keg, announced on Thursday last week that they were suspending their partnership with Hockey Canada. And I mean, this goes in lockstep with Tim Hortons, with Imperial Oil,
Mhm.
Scotiabank, Canadian Tire, Telus. Bauer has said that they find the allegations extremely disturbing, and they're closely following the facts of the situation to determine next steps for its partnership with the national sports organization. So again, the rabbit hole keeps getting deeper and deeper. The repercussions become more and more far-reaching. This is a very damaging time, and a very troubling time for Hockey Canada. They need to clean house, get themselves in order, and make sure that repeats of this never happen.
And that NDA paid for may
Hmm.
become irrelevant.
Well,
That,
at this
that
point,
may be a non-factor because the Hockey Canada is going to have to make a very tough decision, and that is, do they do the right thing and at the same time hurt some young men who did something apparently that deserved some attention and also required payment to a woman. So, I'm not here to pretend or to to propose that anybody did anything wrong. Neither, and I'm not talking about the young woman either. I just, unfortunately, when we have this situation where there's the old saying, where there's smoke, Aaron,
yep.
and that's what we're dealing with here. There's a lot of smoke billowing, and there's a lot of people that are gagging on that smoke, saying, "I don't think I want to be near the fire." So they're distancing themselves from the situation, and that's the right that companies have. And now Hockey Canada has to make a decision that I don't think they want to make, and that is, we're going to end up finding out who the players were that were involved in this thing, and those players are going to have to be accountable for what happened, and they can't just use the excuse that they were 18. That's not going to be good enough.
Nope.
There's going to be a real opportunity, and I'm going to call it an opportunity for them to come clean. And I can't see where coming clean, if they do it the right way, in a decent way, a decent, honest, sincere way, I don't see how any of those players can't recover. Not because they were 18, but because it's something they did in their past that they hopefully can resolve and then move on into the future, having learned a very important, serious lesson, and show that
Uh,
they, that ultimately, that's what's got to happen. We all make mistakes. We all end up doing things we regret. It is my hope that we all sincerely either apologize or try to make up for what we did, and then hopefully everybody else goes, okay, I've made mistakes in my life. Am I going to tar and feather this young man for the rest of his life because of a mistake he made? Not because he was young, but because of a mistake he made in the past, that it's going to stain his whole future. I don't think that's right either, Aaron.
well, I mean, if they broke the law, they should certainly face consequences for that. Let's
I,
not,
I
try to
you know I
parse it
didn't
here.
say I didn't
But
say they don't get to do that. I said they have to be made accountable, of course,
yep,
and there has to be a sincere understanding of what they did, what was wrong with what they did. Because if someone doesn't understand the mistake they made, there's a good chance they're just going to keep repeating it, right?
exactly.
And
So,
that's
and this
what
is
we're
an opportunity to correct that.
right, and that's the key. It has to be corrected, right? But again, I repeat, I want to add this part. If they correct it and they sincerely are accountable and they pay their debt to this young woman or to society in general, it is my hope that they can move on with their lives, and given an opportunity to get another chance, at moving forward in a way that they should have behaved the first time,
Indeed.
but given the chance to prove that they can do that. The San Jose Sharks fire coach Bob Bugner and his assistants.
So this actually leads in directly to the second story as well.
Yeah, Mike.
So not only was Bob Bugner relieved of all of his duties, but all of his coaching staff were as well. 2 months after their regular season has ended, Bugner had only been the coach with the Sharks for the past 2.5 seasons after replacing Peter DeBoer in December 2019. They've missed out on the playoffs each of the last 3 years, following a run of 14 playoff appearances in 15 seasons, including a trip to the finals in 2016. So, following on the heels of that, the Sharks have now named Mike Greer, former NHL forward, as the team's next general manager. Some are positing that this is because they don't have enough people with actual hockey experience in their front offices, just a lot of folks with business experience. So, this bodes well for the organization. He will be the first. He'll be the first Black general manager in the NHL. So, congratulations to Mike Greer on that.
Absolutely. So the Lightning make a tough trade. McDonough to the Predators. This is a guy who came from the Rangers and was a big part of turning that franchise around into becoming a Stanley Cup champ twice, back to back.
Yeah. So basically, they traded Brian McDonough to the Nashville Predators, which cleared out $6.75 million in cap space. But at the same time, they received Philippe Myers and forward prospect Grant Mismash on the deal. So they got rid of 6.75, picked up 2.55. This allows them to bring back top left winger and playoff star Andre Palat. And going with that as well, the Lightning also retained Nick Paul with a 7-year, $22 million contract, which is good for him. Paul's first 2 playoff goals ever came against the Maple Leafs in Game 7 of the first round of this year. So Toronto fans will be familiar with him. But he's going to be making $3.15 million for the next 7 years under his new contract.
The Panthers' Duclair has surgery to repair his Achilles tendon.
So this is something that's apparently been a long time coming. They announced on Saturday that he's expected to return mid-season 2022-2023. Apparently, he injured his left Achilles tendon in off-season training. Now, he's coming off his best pro season, set career-high goals with 31 goals and 27 assists, helped them win the President's Trophy. He's going into the second season of a $9 million 3-year contract that's currently one of the best bargains in the NHL. So if they put him on LTIR, they could use this $3 million salary cap hit for other moves. So this benefits them and also benefits Duclair because there won't be any pressure on him to come back.
Bruins get a new coach. Not an old name, but a new coach.
Yeah. So they've hired Jim Montgomery as their new coach. So the coaching carousel continues. The same 40 or so trusted hockey men are going to be swapping around places here. So he's basically coming over to replace Cassidy. So it'd be good to see what he does there. And now he was fired from his first NHL head coaching job by the Dallas Stars in December 2019. Now this was over allegations of unprofessional conduct, but he has apparently reformed himself and is looking forward to taking a job behind the bench.
Yeah, he has reformed himself, and because of history, he's really going to need to reform himself. That's tough. The Flyers signed their goalie prospect, but he can't leave Russia because the Russians say he's a draft dodger.
Now, apparently, he was arrested. He was given injections that he was not aware of what was in them, and has actually currently been carted off to serve in the Russian Navy in the Arctic Circle from the most recent reports. So instead of continuing to play at CSKA Moscow for another year and satisfy his 2-year military requirement, he has been packed off to the gulags, essentially. So this is disturbing because he's a relatively high-profile individual signed to an NHL deal, and they can't get him out of Russia now because they don't know where he literally don't know where he is.
And do the people in Russia know this stuff? He's their Olympic goalie.
Yeah, and according to TASS, the Russian-led. Sorry about that, Frank. According to TASS, he's facing punishment for this. So
I can understand the punishment. What I can't understand is being drugged. I don't know what the Russians have with drugging people, whether it's steroids for the Olympics or assassinating people in other countries. They're real, their drug culture is a little different than most people's drug culture. Just a little bit different.
Yeah.
My gosh, it smacks of. And then you arrest somebody for having hashish oil in your. Never mind. Anyway, the Red Wings hire Lightning assistant Derek Lalonde as their coach.
Now, Lalonde has spent the past 4 years with John Cooper in Tampa Bay, and that included obviously the Stanley Cup wins in 2020 and 2021, and obviously the trip to the finals this year in which they weren't successful. Detroit is a team that is projected to be on the up and up this year. So it's not surprising that they would attempt to pick him up. So I'm glad to see that he's moving on. Hopefully he'll be the shot in the arm that the franchise needs.
Engel Natsky joins Caps, first woman to become NHL video coach.
Yeah, now she's not only accomplished her goal of making it to the NHL as a video coach, but she's also the first woman to hold a full-time position on an NHL coaching staff. So that's fantastic.
Oilers have major hurdles to overcome to bring back Evander Kane. Most of it money.
Yeah, most of it is money related. So they're looking into moving things around, maybe putting people on LTIR, maybe making some trades. But his hope, the Oilers general manager Ken Holland has said that I hope to resign him. He's expected to become a UFA this summer. But the problem is that they don't have a ton of cap space. They have just over $7 million in projected cap space, and Evander's expected to gobble up most of that.
Haley Wickenheiser among 3 Maple Leafs promoted to assistant general manager.
So this is absolutely fantastic news. Dr. Wickenheiser is now an assistant general manager for the Toronto Maple Leafs,
Yep.
Which is, coupled with Engel Natsky joining the coaching staff in Washington, means more women are getting into the higher echelons of the sport where they deserve to be.
Great. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Vancouver Canucks inked Brock Besser to a 3-year deal.
So this was an important part of them bringing him back. He's got a 3-year, $19.95 million contract. He's only 25 years old, so this 3-year deal is going to see him right into free agency. Now, Patrick Alvin has said that they wanted to keep Brock as a big part of the franchise moving forward. He put up 46 points in 71 games last season. Also, Besser's been dealing with the death of his father, Duke, who died at the end of May, following a long battle with cancer and Parkinson's. I'm glad to see that he's pushed through that. But as it currently stands, the 23rd overall pick from the 2015 entry draft has proved himself as a good hockey performer. So I'm glad that he's back with them.
The Canucks add assistants Yo Cull to Boudreau's staff. Colton takes over AHL team.
Yeah, so Jeremy Colleton is taking over for their team, which is good for them. He's going to be bringing over some of his NHL experience to the Abbotsford Canucks, which is good. Yeo is coming off stints with the Minnesota Wild as well as the Flyers. Now he was actually serving as the interim head coach following the firing of Alain Vigneault after he was terminated early in the season. So there you have it. Yo's 263, 217, and 62 in the NHL. He's got over 540 games of experience, so that's great.
Roe versus Wade has its effect here in Canada. Women in Canadian tech urging companies to pay for U.S. staff to travel for abortions. And I think they mean even coming here to Canada to do it.
Yeah, there is talk of that. Now, it's important to note here that some of the people that signed off on this letter include Real Ventures managing partner Janet Bannister, Borrowell co-founder Eva Wong, Willfil CEO Aaron Berry, and Summit Nanotech CEO Amanda Hall. There's about 50 signatories on the letter. Those are just some of the heavyweights that are actually putting their weight behind it. So glad to see that. And
our last story is Ontario NDP Liberals call for a plan on expanded fourth COVID-19 vaccine shots. We've not seen the end of this, Aaron.
No. New Democrat leader Peter Tabens, the interim leader, said Monday that details on the plan are needed now. that a federal immunization panel is recommending shots, and Quebec has moved ahead with fourth doses for all adults. Doug Ford needs to tell Ontarians what the plan is for expanding access to fourth doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. Something else as a carry on to this as well. There is a Queen of Canada who is calling on her followers to disrupt these vaccine buses wherever they find them. So that is something else to be aware of, folks. It's an issue that's not going away.
Arrest her, put her in jail. Don't get in the way of other people's concerns about their health. You don't want to go get a vaccine, don't get a vaccine. But don't
interfere with my access to healthcare.
Absolutely. You don't have the right to tell me what to do, especially when you come out of a group of people who thinks they can say, oh, don't tell me what to do, but I'll tell you what I want you to do. Awesome. I love hypocrisy, Aaron. It's always lovely. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, Frank.
For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live. Aaron Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, folks. Ciao for now.